It could be a crowd. Pictures of them all, you know, on all fours. Right. It's really, I got it.
Tire.
We played what is going now. My team played well.
Find out good news from a Tuesday.
If you will, we're going to call this meeting to order. The regular meeting of the Williston City Council. It is Tuesday, October the 19th, and it is 6 p.m. Ms. Jones, if you will call the roll, I'll appreciate it.
Mayor Jerry Robinson.
Here.
Council President Deborah Jones.
Here.
Vice President Marguerite Robinson.
Here.
Councilmember Michael Cox.
Here.
Councilmember Dartmouth Hines.
Here.
Councilmember Lady Ross.
Here.
City Manager Jackie Gorman.
Here.
City Attorney Scott Walker.
Here.
City Clerk Patricia Wright is absent. Finance Director Stephen Bloom.
Here.
And all the rest of the staff.
Here.
If you will, stay with us for the opening prayer and the pledge of allegiance by the mayor.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day here, and we thank you for everyone that's here at this meeting tonight. Lord, we pray that you would be with us and be with this council and lead, guide, and direct them in the city business tonight. Be with our police and fire and protect them. Liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item number 1 on our agenda is the additions, deletions, changes, or approval of the agenda. Do we have any additions, deletions, or changes? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval. I move that we approve the agenda. I have a motion and 2 seconds. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. At this time, item number 2 is public participation. This is the first of 2 times that you can come as the public to the podium and make comment about anything that is not on the agenda. And I don't see anybody here. Mr. Mills, do you have anybody online? Okay, if not, we're going to move to item number 3, which is the consent agenda, which is the council meeting minutes of October 5th. Any discussion about the minutes? If not, I'll have a motion. I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the consent agenda? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, item number 4, staff, board, and council updates. We'll start with the city manager, Jackie Gorman.
Good evening, council. Good evening, council. I really don't have anything to report. Except we have the Cornelius Williams Park on October 26th from 3 to 6. They'll be doing, the health department's doing flu shots.
Oh.
So you'll be able to go there during that time. Project updates are being done and sent out, so because we have so much going on, it was hard to be able to just announce it all at one time. So each department will be submitting just a short update on everything that we're working on. Other than that, that's all I have.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Gorman? All right, then I'll start with Mr. Ross then. Do you have anything at this time?
No, I don't.
Okay, Ms. Hines.
I have nothing.
Mayor.
Nope.
Ms. Robinson.
No,
Mr. Cox.
I would like to say that the power guys did a good job for getting us back online last Friday, I think it was.
They did do a great job. I checked on them 2 or 3 times. They were so busy they didn't know I was there, which is great. They did do a good job. It was our main service that was there. It was great. Yeah. Did a great job.
It's interesting though to learn that where it happened, it affected
All
up
over there. It did. feeds that whole side of town, so it counts too. All right, thank you for that. Anything else from council members? We'll move then. I do not see, well, we actually got an email from Ms. Brannon. She was not going to attend tonight because she didn't have anything to add. I don't know if Laura has anything, other than they have a meeting coming up. I think that's what she said. I do not see Mr. Williams. He is from the CRA. And at this time, I don't see Mr. Fuller. If he comes in later, we'll go back to him.
I was contacted by, Mr. Williams, and he's under the weather, and he didn't wanna come and spread anything, so he did say he wanted to let you know that they are working across the street in the arcade on block 12, so if anybody sees activity over there, that is us.
Yes,
They're doing some exploratory demolition to find out what condition the roof is in and the wall.
Perfect.
And Mr. Fuller called, and he's also stuck at a convention, so he won't make it tonight.
Okay.
And he didn't really have any updates, just to let everybody know that our meeting next Tuesday for planning and zoning will revisit the Cornelius Williams Park plan.
Great. You got it all under control. Okay, so our next item of business is discussion with possible action of the July 4th vendor agreement. I'm trying to find it in my packet. Oops, there it is. I just went flying by it. Okay, there were a few things that you asked us to do last time. As you see, it was 10 to 12 minutes for the fireworks display. It's now 12 to 15. It also, the deposit is no longer 100%, it's now 50%, with the balance due in April. Let's see, and also the rain delay, if you remember, it was, I believe, at 11 o'clock in the morning, and it's now 7 p.m. So we negotiated that. So this is ready for your approval if you are ready to accept it. He would like to get the fireworks ordered, so we can have them.
He did everything we asked.
He did.
I move that we approve.
I have a motion and a second from Councilmember Hines. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Appreciate it. Okay, discussion with possible action of Christmas tree vendor in Block 0. You have on your desk tonight, this is a temporary commercial permit that was completed. It hasn't been approved yet, but it's been completed on behalf of the person who wants to do the Christmas tree. On the back is the drawing that we asked him to do. He spoke today back and forth with email pretty much with Laura. Let me find my paperwork over here, because I actually have copies of it. Okay, so we asked how much the donation would be to the chamber. He said he would like to do a flat rate instead of a percentage, that way they get money, because he has no idea how much he's gonna make, especially his first year. So he would like to do a $500 donation to the chamber for the first year. He is willing to double that the following year if we let him come back. We told him there was power and water. He says that he needs power and he will pay for it. We just have to tell him how much it is. He also would like to set up December 1st through the 24th, or when he runs out of trees. And yes, he will provide insurance. As you see from the temporary permit, it is a company called Virtuous Endeavors, doing business as Harvey's Holiday Harvest. In the picture, you can see that there is a 20 by 20 tent and a 50 by 50 orange fence that goes around the whole thing. And you see where the trees are laid out, there's a little dot. See the legend at the bottom of the page. I have a couple of extra ones if somebody wants one. Anybody needs them out. I have a couple extra up here that I printed at home. Let's see. And Mr. Travis Harvey is a co-worker of Mr. Bill Foster's. I don't think they're in partnership, but he works for Mr. Foster when Mr. Foster does events. So, any other questions that you might have for him, because I think he's answered all the ones that I knew.
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am,
The Flamingo Freeze is right there.
right.
Is that gonna be a problem with their business there? It does, I don't think it looks like it because of the parking. However, this isn't gonna encroach on their business.
Well, the
area.
parking on the Main Street side, of
Uh-huh.
course, is not theirs, it's Flamingo. Well, I
Right.
guess it could be both, it could be theirs too. He's showing parking on both sides of the trees.
Right.
And if we need to move the tent away from Flamingo Freeze to the bottom corner, we can.
Mm-hmm.
If that's one of our recommendations, we can do that.
Yeah, I don't want it to mess with that business, 'cause
Yeah.
that is an ongoing.
And we
business
might want to move that actually on the other end
Correct.
of the space.
If I may add,
Please.
staff still needs to look at this and get with him on permits for the tent
Uh-huh.
and the electric, temp poles have to be a work order for that, so this is contingent on staff review and making sure that we're all communicating.
Yeah,
Is
it's
that
just,
okay?
what we're trying to do is make sure that the council's okay with it, then y'all can take it from
Then we
there.
can take it, okay.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am, you have a clarification you need?
Yeah, you're pointing, but you're pointing at it that way. Where you talking
Oh,
about?
sorry,
moving-
it's that way.
Not that way, where you talking about moving the tent to?
On the opposite end of the field. Like, I would move
Go back towards that
where the
way.
tent and the porta potty are, I would say move them to the opposite side. But we'll leave that to staff, actually, so that they can see where it's the best place.
But I think.
Because it needs to be away from the road too.
Mm-hmm.
Is to, talk to Flamingo Freeze. I think, if I remember that last year, we put it earlier.
I think it would be a great draw for Flamingo Freeze.
I agree.
I think everybody will get ice cream at the same time.
I love it.
I really do. And I think it's, and if we need to move that to the opposite corner to get it away from Flamingo Freeze, especially that porta potty, we'll let staff situate it where, next to the power pole, because they'll need power for that tent, that sort of thing, they'll need light.
Be, courteous to Allison and.
Exactly. Yep,
There's enough room.
yes, there is definitely enough room and there's plenty of parking.
We just put up some signs on the Flamingo side.
And vice versa, go over here for ice cream and go over here for trees. Exactly.
While you're looking,
Right,
eat your ice cream.
and don't park here unless you're coming for ice cream, too. Okay, so would anyone like to make a motion for approval for that, so they can order the trees?
I move that we approve, where's the business name? Virtuous Endeavors, Inc., to go ahead with this Christmas tree sale lot.
A second.
A motion and a second.
You know what kind of trees he's gonna be selling? I mean, just out of curiosity.
Christmas.
I don't know if they're cedar trees or spruce or whatever, I'm not sure. I can try to find that out. I'll try to find that out.
Hopefully green.
Yeah. I know they're coming from North Carolina, that's all I know.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a motion and we have a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Should have mentioned something about that $500 donation in that motion, but that's understood.
I was going to say the council agrees with the $500 donation. It is part of the agreement.
Correct.
Thank you very much for that clarification too. Okay, we will move at this time to new business. Item A is review of the August 2021 financial report. And Mr. Williams here to review it for us. And it's even daylight. Won't have to drive home in the dark. Thank you for coming, Mr. Williams.
Oh, happy to be here. And it's always, even better to present great information. So
That's wonderful.
I'll just make sure we're on the first slide. So we'll be talking about the financials to August. This is a little bit of an abbreviated report because we will be presenting another one next month for September, which is year end and obviously the most significant one of the year. So, but there was a lot of good information in here through August, and certainly wanted to present that. So we'll start with the general fund, and again, we're about 82% of the way through when you're looking at August. And when you look at revenue, it's always good to see, you know, property taxes at 99.1% collected. So that's, you know, the first highlight. Overall, you know, you've collected, with all the revenue, over 100% of your budget through August. And again, some of the budget was a little bit conservative, as we were kind of unsure where some of, you know, the state and other local taxes revenue were going to be because of COVID. So everything has come in better than budget so far. Again, very good signs. Overall, the general fund through August is about $343,000 favorable in terms of the bottom line, the surplus. Now, you keep in mind, within that number is the sale of property, which was about 117 or almost half of that. But even when you take that out, you know, the general fund is doing very well. Again, through August, with only one more month left to go. Your spending is under budget through August. I have noted some exceptions, really more just to let you know than it is of any, you know, large issues. But just for example, when you look at the chart on the bottom, the bottom right there, anything in blue is technically over budget, even though some are, you can see, are just smidgens above. But really, you know, a lot of these things are very close to the budget or below. It's very good to see through August. And even fire, which we talked about before, it's important to remember, though, fire is over budget. However, you know, there's additional revenue now coming in to cover that, and we have billed the county for those additional hours.
Have we gotten the check back from the county?
We have not yet, not through August. I haven't checked.
Did we get the first check, though?
We've been, yes.
We did get the first check.
And again, we built them quarterly.
Yeah, I know, but I know that they were supposed to give us
They did.
the first check, but we got that.
Yes,
Cool. So again, we'll be doing some of this a little bit differently in 2022 to kind of show you more on a department level. Because again, if you're fire and you see that your spending's over budget, it's going to be helpful to have a chart that shows you, okay, maybe you're spending, but you build back that. So we'll have some additional information that we're going to show as we get into the new year, both for fire and also building and permitting and occupational licenses. That's another area we want to just focus it, because the numbers are looking good, you know, or not, you know, however they are. We want to be able to show it to you at that micro level. But again, very, very good information in here. I mentioned, you know, fire, you know, a couple other places that you'll see, you know, special events are way above, but we have the fireworks that's in there. City council's a little bit over budget, but the change in council pay, you know, occurred in 2021. That'll be obviously adjusted in 2022. So, but all in all, you know, very good so far to be able to report. The last information I'll say in the general fund is with this additional, you know, surplus. I say the word surplus, but if you remember when the auditors presented your 2021 numbers, one of the things they said about the general fund was that the reserves, your available cash reserves, were getting too low. They said that a couple times during that report. So I say surplus, but what this money is, this is going to be used for two things: to get that reserve back up to where you want it, but also when you remember when you did your budget, there was a little portion of the general fund that was going to be covered by reserves. And we're like, okay, where is that going to come from? Well, you know, here's the numbers for you, so you can see it, that, you know, you're going to have that money to be able to use for 2022 for those important, you know, catch-up items for, you know, whether it's expenditures or other things. Okay, so we'll move and talk about the airport on the next slide. And again, this is very good information to report to you. The numbers, or the surplus, or the bottom line, again, for the airport right now is about $72,000 favorable, again, through August. And again, just to give you a comparison, when we were having this discussion last year, the airport was breaking even through August. So to be able to say there's $72,000 up is very good. And that's with a really good allowance for collectible accounts, because there are some accounts that are going to need to be written off. They're obviously being sent in for collections, but eventually we might have to come in front of you to write some of those off. So it's good to have a good allowance in there. When you look at fuel, year over year, and again, last year was a bad year to be comparing it to, but it's still worth comparing. It's about a 24% increase year over year, which is really good. And then the last thing I will say about the airport fund is it does not include any timber sales that have occurred over the last couple of weeks and some in September. So this number is going to do, obviously present much better, even higher in September. And I know they have some additional spending, tied to that. I mean, in terms of improvements, but again, very good sign to be able to see where the airport is. And similar to the general fund, the reserves were lower, and this is going to help for future projects, potential if there's some matches that need to occur or some other infrastructure that needs to be improved on. Okay, on the CRA, there's not a whole lot to report in terms of, capital spending, but again, a good surplus there, about $119,000 through August, and again, all of that money stays in the CRA fund and will be used for some good projects in the future. Right now, in total, it's about $471,000 that is available, and again, obviously the CRA is a much longer term with some of their projects, but that money will stay there, and again, it's good to be able to increase that because there's a lot of good projects they have coming up. And then the last slide is our utility fund, kind of taking a look at that. And, as I mentioned some of this, obviously, for moving forward a little bit in 2022, we'll have some rate study information to provide to you on a couple of these utilities. So keep that in mind as we look through a couple of these charts. So first up, overall, there's a surplus of about $243,000. And again, I'm using the word surplus. Obviously, there's capital and infrastructure improvements that we've already talked about that these funds will be used for. It is interesting and important to note that revenue is a little bit behind budget. And in particular, gas and electric is actually down. When I present the September numbers, I'm going to have some more details on that, and I want to kind of look at some multiple years of usage to get you some kilowatt hours. Numbers in terms of dollars is good, but I want to be able to see maybe a 2 or 3 year trend for you to. So I'm going to add a slide that kind of shows where that is again as we kind of move towards the future. Now again, spending is down as well for the utility fund, and again, it's kind of always good to have spending below your revenue, but we'll kind of keep an eye on that as it kind of closes out the year. The important chart that I just wanted to touch on a little bit is the next one, where we've talked about this before, where we break out the services by type. And again, I show two different areas. I show really the operating income of each utility before the transfer to the general fund, and then after. After the transfer, really only electric is profitable. It's what we knew. It's nothing new. It's the way it has been for years. The key point is to kind of look at before, the operating income line that I'm showing you there. You have only two utilities that are not, kind of operating in the black. Gas, which again we've talked about, and solid waste, which is a small adjustment. Really, it's just a matter of that there's some other internal costs that we allocate to it. Nothing, in terms of the contract. But a key there is water and sewer. Before we started the last rate changes, and then there was like a group of 4 years in a row, both of those were negative. So you really had, it's a kind of across the board thing. You have water and sewer significantly behind. And again, that was kind of why the result was, hey, let's put a little bit of an increase in here each year. Over time, we were hoping that when we get done with it and do a next one, will be positive for those two utilities. So that is good to see. Obviously, gas needs some work, and some of that is seasonal. And what I mean by that is you're going to see, October, November, and probably even September have some really nice gas months, and then kind of pick up from there. But that's one of the utilities we'll be taking a look at, obviously, along with electric will be another one that will that they're already doing the work on. So again, it's always interesting to see how these break out. I know the goal will always be for each one of them to carry their own weight. including gas, which there's a lot of big plans for in the future. But that's what this kind of chart is always kind of important to see how they're doing year over year, even quarter over quarter. And that's really all I had. Again, this is a little bit of an abbreviated report. Your September one will really give you the full big picture, and including loans, where the projects ended and kind of what's next as we look forward would be a part of that as too. Any questions, anything else you want me to cover?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you
Okay.
again.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And I just want to tell the department heads too, thank you for keeping the expenses down, and making those, especially those 3 that are profitable. It's really nice to see that, especially the 2 we weren't expecting. We always know that electric's gonna be, but, water is a different story. So, that's great. Love to see it. Okay, we're gonna move then. If no more questions for Mr. Bloom, we'll move discussion with possible action, amendment to the extension of interlocal agreement with the crossing guard, Ms. Gorman.
Yes, what you have in your packet is, you see this every year. We have an interlocal agreement with the school board of Lease County. And they have changed, they've done an amendment to the agreement to keep up with the minimum wage that's happening in the next few years. So we've gone from $8.62 an hour to 10. And what they're saying in here is City of Williston will ensure the crossing guards and substitutes are available, fingerprinted, have clean background checks for all assigned crossing guard services, and that, the board will pay the local government some of the minimum wage per hour worked per school crossing, at designated school areas, so it's gonna be minimum wage. They kept it that way, so we have to keep amending it every year.
So they wouldn't have to change it every time.
Right, so we appreciate,
Good.
again, if you would approve this, we can get it back to them.
I know, I noticed it was signed in July.
Well, yes,
Guess we had to get
we
through
had
our
some
budget
wording-
process first.
It was just back and forth trying to get some wording
Right.
changed, so they've already approved it, and we just have to make sure this new wording got put in, and
Right.
we're ready to go.
Okay, I entertain a motion for approval.
I make a motion that we approve the amendment.
Thank you so much. Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion from anyone? All in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item C is Resolution 2021-67, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Levy County, Florida, authorizing execution of the U.S. Department of Transportation, USDOT Pipeline Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, PHMSA Technical Assistance Grant, TAG, for gas detection and providing an effective date. Ms. Jones, how in the world did you end up with this?
Well, I ended up with this because I'm the grant manager.
You're the grant administrator, I thought so, go ahead.
And we work, pretty tightly to try and get these grants done in a timely manner. So I didn't have much to do with writing it, but I was asking if we could, if you could let me approve it and sign it. This is only half of the grant. This is gas detection equipment, that's gonna be about $20,000 altogether. They gave us the $9,000 now, and then we're gonna go after the other half, and the DOT has already pretty much said we're gonna get it all. So this is just a portion of it to get started to buy some of that equipment. And you'll see attached is, a resolution basically approving this TAG grant. We call it TAG because that's really, other than that, it's really long.
Technical assistance grant, right?
And letting me sign it when it comes in this time and the next time.
Okay, that's what it is, that part in here, the grants manager, I see that now,
Mhm.
to execute it. Okay, does anybody see any problem with that? I don't. Okay. Entertain a motion for resolution 2021-67.
I make a motion, we approve resolution 2021-67.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion from anyone? All in favor of the motion say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item D is resolution 2021-69, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, approving the assignment of lease and acceptance of assignment between Altair Aircraft LLC, Maurice Mileman, and the city of Williston for property at the airport and identified as hard stand 7, authorizing the city council president to execute the extension and providing an effective date. Mr. Steele.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is just a simple transfer of lease from one tenant to another. Altair Aircraft is a business run and managed by Victor Espinoza. Mr. Espinoza has been, getting up in age, and he has 2 hangars out at the airport. He's recently sold one to Mr. Mileman, and this is the paperwork to finalize that.
And is this the Quonset hut looking one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Got it, thank you. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Steele? Entertain a motion for approval of resolution 2021-69.
I move that we approve resolution 2021-67.
69, this one's on 69.
69?
Yes, sir.
B.
We did 67 already.
All right.
Okay, do I have a second to the motion? Okay. Thank you. Any discussion on the resolution? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. One more. Resolution 2021-70, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, to approve a purchase order for the Williston Municipal Airport for 2 metal buildings for equipment storage. Mr. Steele.
Yes, ma'am. So, this one is one we've been wanting to work into the budget for some time. We've had almost all of the council and most of the staff out to the airport at some point, and they say, well, why are your tractors just sitting out in the field? And thanks to some of the timber sale money, Mr. Bloom just told you we're doing pretty well, but with the timber sale money, we're doing over and above. So we would like to allocate some of that money to purchase these buildings to actually put our tractors under a roof instead of letting the sun bake them.
And where exactly are they gonna go? Couldn't quite tell.
Okay. Right across from the A building T hangars, there's a small grassy knoll right there. So we're gonna try to put both buildings right there.
Okay. Is it where the flight school used to be, or is it on the far side next to the fence?
It's next to the fence.
Okay.
There's a small walk-through gate right there, and
Right.
right on the other side of the walk-through gate was where Sky Chiefs used to be. So we're gonna have them inside the fence as opposed to
Oh,
outside.
good. Okay. I couldn't quite tell. I did see the drawing, but I couldn't quite tell.
Yes, sir.
I was directionally challenged. I kind of moved it around, but I couldn't figure it out. Okay. Any questions for Mr. Steele?
I believe it was 22.4.
It's in here.
It was part of
It's
it.
22 something. It's in here.
Mm-hmm.
If I can find it, I'm trying to get to my page. I'm still on Mr. Moment up here. All right, there it is. I don't think that one has the final number. 22,676 and 10 cents. Okay, so I entertain the motion, for resolution 2021-70. Amount of $22,676.10.
I move that we approve resolution 2021-70.
I have a second from Ms. Hines. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Stevens.
If I may.
Yes, sir.
Just wanted to remind everybody that this weekend, Saturday at 2 o'clock, the Levy County Historical Society is putting on a program, talking about the Montbrook Army Airfield, which is the history of, Williston Airport. And then the following weekend, the 30th, is the EAA chapter's pig roast and fly-in. So we've had a lot of people inquiring about it, so it should be a pretty good turnout.
Terrific. Yeah, I hope you have good weather.
I hope so too.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you for keeping it busy and getting the public out there.
I'll be there.
That's always good. Okay, so we will move now to item F, which is discussion with possible action on Williston Memorial Hospital, or Nature Coast Hospital, whatever the name of it is, Mayor Robinson.
Okay, there've been a lot of people wondering about when the grass and everything's gonna be cut at the hospital. A lot of people have been questioning about that. There's certain things that's going on with the hospital right now. So I went up and talked to the tax, office, talked to Michelle about that, and she received a phone call from an attorney from the feds that, they cannot collect property taxes, they cannot do anything with the hospital because there is a pending lawsuit at this time. And then it's filed by the Security Exchange Commission. So I called them in Miami, and yes, there is a suit pending against the, property owners. She told me that there is a trial scheduled for December, but we all know that this could be postponed or carried over or whatever, and there is, you can go on site, on the net and, keep tabs on that. So, and basically, we will probably, in all probability, not get any response from the letters that the board has sent up there about cleaning up the hospital. I would say the chances on that would be next to none, pending this trial, this lawsuit. So what we did, we got some approximate costs based on the use of the inmates of what it would cost to clean up the area, and that would be approximately $2,200 a month. Now, according to the ordinances here, and this is coming up before the board at this next meeting here, so that they can start the fine on the property owners, accumulating that. Any money that the city pays, according to the ordinances here, or the Muni Code, can be attached to that amount. So whatever happens, if the property owners wins, then they're still gonna have the fines to pay. They're gonna have the fine, the amount to clean up the property added to that, or if it goes to a tax sale, then that's gonna have to be taken care of at that time by whoever buys the property. And like I said, it would cost approximately $2,200 a month, based on our estimates. However, the question is to the council, do they want the city workers to do it and take away from their everyday work within the city, or would they want to try and get some estimates from some independent contractors to see what that cost was, or do they just want to let it grow and let the residents complain? So basically, that's where we are with the hospital, and I really hope that the board, they put a stiff penalty on the hospital, so it would start accumulating when it comes to the board.
What is the venue for that trial?
It's federal.
But where?
It's down south.
In Miami?
Yeah, because that's who I talked to down there.
Okay.
That's my understanding. Because the property is here.
Yeah, well, we've got federal.
Yeah. I could do it in Gainesville.
But, according to the lady that I talked to down there, she was out of Miami, so it's gonna be federal court out of Miami. So, it's up to the council what the council wants to do with the, to clean up the property.
How does the utility crew feel about it? They're not staring at you, right?
Utilities really appreciates the additional staff, and one of the benefits of that additional staff is that we do feel confident that we could take care of this. Doing it in-house also, obviously, if something is collected down the road, helps the budget, so there's another benefit to it. But if you guys were to decide that you wanted us to move forward with that, we would be absolutely fine with it.
Do we have our second crew already?
We are working on getting the final equipment, but the second crew should be running here in the next month,
I
the
think we're
second
real
inmate
close.
crew.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I also am getting complaints from everybody and his brother. I'm getting complaints from the businesses in the area, as well as the people who just drive by and see it every day. So I'm getting it from everybody.
So,
We
right,
shouldn't have to cut it but a couple of times, because the cool weather's
That's right.
coming, grass isn't gonna grow as much.
That's very true, at least for the next 4 or 5 months.
How did you come to this amount?
If you look at, there should be a quote sheet, broken down. We have to basically break down what the hourly wage is, and we calculated it 8 hours of labor. And then, of course, you have an intrinsic value of equipment, wear and tear on it, fuel costs are down. So I broke it up, and gave a total based on what we believe the cost would be relative.
Okay, so where did you get the numbers from? Did you average it from somewhere else?
Well, the
Did you take it from?
salaries are based on the staffing plan and our budget. Inmates, we consulted the prison as to what other cities and municipalities value inmate labor at, and that's the quote that they gave us, what the city of Ocala, the city of Gainesville does. As far as the heavy equipment, that's just basically a guesstimation of if we were to go out and get a rental, or if another company were to use it, that's approximately what they would charge. And then the fuel is just straightforward. We know how much fuel we would use based on how long it would take, and that's what we came up with there. So we broke each section down and then gave you a total based on an 8-hour use.
And there are other cities that charge for inmate labor, when they should recoup it, like Phmsa or
Correct.
whatever.
It is a benefit to us. We don't pay for the inmates, but if we were to utilize inmate labor, yes, it is typical to charge for that, and DOC has no issues with that
Okay.
whatsoever.
All right, that was a question I knew we had. All right, any other questions from anybody? I guess the next question is, do you think we should do it, undertake that and do it, or do you not think we should undertake it?
If Donald said that they can handle it,
If he's confident, and it sounds like he is, then I believe in our utility department.
Oh, sure.
To do it. Let's do it.
I think it would be a good idea simply for the public value of it. I mean, if we don't do something,
Yeah.
everybody's gonna be accusing everybody else of not doing anything.
And as I came across the front and I turned left there to go back east, that whole back, you can't even see the helicopter pad. It's completely consumed. You couldn't land a helicopter in there if you had to. Of course, they wouldn't. I guess they'd go to the airport instead now. Why would they?
That is correct.
Mr. Witt?
Are you talking about using city staff
Yes.
or inmates that are supervised by city staff?
I think both. You wanna answer that question?
That is correct. It would require both.
Yeah, and I'll hand you this, and you can see, that it's showing, the 2 park rangers are the people that work for us, who supervise the 2 inmate crews. And a heavy equipment operator also would be our staff, somebody who works a backhoe or whatever they needed to haul off. 'Cause
Our
it's bad.
equipment.
Right, and the rest of it, those 2 especially. The inmate crews can use the weed eaters, but they cannot ride the lawnmowers, right?
So 5 inmates would be the first crew that would deal with lawnmowers. Your other 5 inmates would deal with the weed eating and the edging. Your 2 inmate supervisors are the 2 that are required by DOC to obviously keep them monitored.
Right.
The 2 park rangers would be dealing with other things like shrubberies and all those types of things. And then your heavy equipment operator is the only one that really certified to move equipment of a certain capacity.
Yeah.
The John Deere specifically.
Yeah, and if you'd like to come take a picture of this or whatever, it's the only one I have, but there it is. Yeah, sure. Okay, so it sounds like we're in consensus, and you wanna do it by consensus, or would you like to make a motion to do it for maybe 6 months? Mr. Carson?
The only thing we don't have is written permission to go on anybody's private property. It's in litigation. If, the city votes to do it, it's so be it, but you don't have written permission just to jump on somebody's property and cut it.
Then I would say ask the tax collector.
Well, you're not gonna get written permission because it is in suit, and the Fed said they can't do anything about it. So what you're saying is we just let it go and just throw over the hospital?
And the tax collector has the keys. They're in possession of the hospital.
So
I
we
would-
need to get written permission from the property owner.
I would think from the tax collector would be sufficient. I look at the attorney down here for complete clarification, but they have possession of the hospital, they have the keys. Anytime we have needed access, we go to them to get the key. Since it's been in litigation, they actually took it for taxes.
So
And
title-
they've already had an auction and
And
pretty much
they were
stripped.
getting ready for a sale,
Yeah.
when they got this call from the attorney that, to back out, they couldn't do anything, collect property taxes or sell it or anything due to the federal lawsuit.
And anything we did to it would increase the value of it, not decrease the value of it, so I can't see that they would have a problem with it.
What we will do is talk to the tax collector, and we'll look up the lawsuit, find out what the complaint is all about, find out what's going on with the lawsuit, take a look at that, try to monitor.
It's very interesting when you read it.
Sounds like it. It sounds like it'd be an interesting read. And then we'll report back to staff and let you know where we're at with that. In a worst case scenario, there is a process for an administrative warrant when you have noxious weeds and overgrowth and vermin and snakes potential and all that sort of thing. You can go to circuit court and get an administrative warrant to access property. If we have to, that would be our last course of attack if we need to do that. But we'll get it figured out.
Right, and the sad thing is, we're having this in front of our board on the 25th.
Yeah.
So anything you do today changes the board, because this is all public record itself.
Any action we take is superfluous. They know that we're doing it.
I honestly don't know if you need the permission of the property owner, because based on, section 4053, it says where any owner of any such lot, piece, or parcel of land as referred to section 40-52 has failed to keep such lot, piece, or parcel of land and the adjacent curbside free and clean from weeds, grass, garbage, waste, and trash, the city at any time after reasonable notice to the owner may cause such weeds and grass to be cut and the garbage and waste trash to be picked, to be removed therefrom at the expense of the owner thereof. Such cost shall be assessed against the property owner and shall constitute a lien thereon. Such lien shall have a priority co-equal with ad valorem taxes and may be collected and enforced according to law. So we have made reasonable notice by sending them letters, and they have not responded. And this is what this says, reasonable notice.
And if we need to wait, I think too, if we need to wait till after the Board of Adjustments meeting, it'll take that long to figure out what we're doing anyway. Let them do what they need to do and impose the fines that need to be imposed, and then we'll take action if the tax collector is so inclined to let us do that. We won't get it done before then anyway, once we start looking at it.
And, any action would be probably, further into November anyways on our end,
Right.
to get the crews back up and running.
And I think it's next Tuesday when that meeting is that correct?
Monday.
Next Monday, thank you very much.
28.
Yeah, next Monday. So we won't get it for them, so they can do their business looking at it as it is. Okay, so do we need a motion, or are we gonna do that by consensus and let the staff take care of it? Are we in consensus to let the staff handle it? Okay, consensus. All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sure everybody who's complained will be very happy about that.
Travel board would be happy.
I know
Tourist
the Levy County Tourism Development is in their backyard, and it's a terrible place for everybody to come to the Tourism Development office and see that. And they don't complain, but they're very concerned. They have heard it from both of those young ladies. All right, item number 6 is announcements, and we'll start with staff tonight. If staff have any more announcements at this time? Okay, Mr. Walker, do you have anything for us tonight?
Councilmember Cox remarked that I was casual, and that's because we sponsor the Gainesville Quarterback Club
Cool.
Golf tournament and at the University of Florida Bostic Golf Course. And it's named for my partner's son who
Wow.
passed away 2 years ago, July 4th.
Yes.
And he was using Bradley's bag. It's the Bradley Folds Memorial Golf Classic.
Wow.
And he was using Bradley's bag, and he said, I wonder if Bradley left any shots in this bag for me. And he had a hole-in-one on number 8.
No way.
And
Wow.
it's remarkable.
I love it. What a great story.
I didn't have that same kind of round.
And you can be casual anytime like the rest of us.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, do you have anything, Ms. Corbin? No. Mr. Cox?
Yeah, a couple of things. They came up to drop off the utility bill at the drop box. I think we need to come up with a better drop box, one that's deeper. Because when you open the front lid, stick it in there, you can see everybody else's bills, even though it's got the little claw thing. So somebody with a long pair of needle nose pliers or a grabber can reach right in there
Dish it out.
and pull those out. And one time, when the wife came up and dropped off, it was jammed. Somebody had paid with money and shoved it in there, and it got stuck.
Oh, my
So,
heavens.
I don't know if we could come up with something where it's a easy box and wider, so that, go one down in there.
Yeah.
I'd hate to see somebody come up and I paid it.
Somebody would, sitting at home thinking about, how can they?
And we used to have a note, a sign on it that said not to put bills in there in the daytime. But once we closed the city hall, people are putting them in there in the daytime and in the evening.
Now it's a habit.
Yeah, and now instead of coming in to pay it. So maybe we need to put the sign back up that says not to put them in there during the daytime. Then it probably wouldn't get jammed up.
Somebody could very easily go in there.
Yeah, can somebody take a look at that for us? Do we need to put a work order in for that?
Yes, ma'am.
Let somebody do that for us? So they'll take a look and at least see what they think needs to be done, if anything. Okay, anything else, Mr. Cox?
I was wondering, like when, we had the issue in East Williston with the shooting, we got calls, to our phones saying that we have an active shooter situation, stuff like that.
From the sheriff's office, yes.
Yeah. So when we were out of power last Friday, we weren't sure how long. Is there a way that we could come up with a system or a number we could call into that's a recording thing saying this section's out of power, this is an estimated amount of time? Because from a business standpoint, I'm paying employees
Right.
for nothing. If there's a way that we could kind of, not just for businesses, but for residents, to have an idea of how long we are gonna be out of power.
One of the problems we had in the past with that, using Facebook, we had a major line to go down, probably about a year ago. And, Mike and crew said, we're probably looking at like 3 hours. And then once they got it, put up another line of snap, and it's like 6 hours.
Yeah.
And the public ate our lunch because we told them this, and it ended up being twice
Yep.
as long. That's one of the problems you run into.
Is there a way, Mr. Mills, to leave a message, to update a message routinely at a time like that?
There's probably always a way. I mean, just would have to have something in place to do that. I mean, have to have a number that they would call in.
I mean, we have an after-hours power number.
Yeah, that would play the number.
Does it have a recording on it? I
That
guess
goes
is
to the
what I'm
police
asking.
department, so.
It goes in the police department, and if you get a recording, that's when they start calling our regular dispatch number.
Yeah,
Great.
it's just,
So they basically lock down every line we have. And we found probably the best way to communicate over here is for Facebook.
And do you turn it off and on, the line for power outages? It stays on all the time?
It's transferred over from City Hall at the close of business, and that's how we get it.
Okay, so at close of business, that goes to you. I know, because I've answered it over here before.
Right.
During the hurricane, we were actually helping answer the phones.
So.
I didn't know how it worked, when you turned it off or when you turned it off.
And also, everybody's not doesn't use Facebook, so you have to be mindful of that as well.
Right now, it's probably the only way we have to communicate.
It's been suggested, I've heard from a lot of people have suggested maybe taking that away and having an actual after-hours answering service or someone that is responsible for answering that phone that could be updated or could give updated information. I'm just throwing that at you.
The only thing I'm familiar with is a telecall system, where you have a service that you pay for that you have every person who lists a phone number with us in utilities. You wouldn't be able to direct it to neighborhoods, but you could put out one phone call that would inform people that power's down and there's possibly an estimation of this period of time. But it goes back to what Chief said. You may have to make a second call and update that one. So there would be a fee obviously involved in that, but that's definitely a possibility.
The other problem you have is people change phone numbers so often.
Right.
You know.
Chief Signal.
Yeah, they actually, the county already has this system in place, we know that, right?
Right.
They can break out areas, like when we had the active shooter in the metropolis of Montbrook, it was just in that area that we got the phone call that the active shooter was going on. The county EOC has the ability to send those messages out over people's phones. Wouldn't it be prudent to check with them to see if we could get in that system?
It would, to see if they have our 911 city addresses.
You know, and then they may be actually able to break out, if we have a power outage in the northwest quadrant, just that quadrant of the city would get that phone message.
Mm-hmm. Even if it was just the city.
Yes,
We
even if the whole
send it
city
to
got
everybody.
it.
You know,
And
at
it
the
could
very
say,
least,
yes.
that would be nice.
Yes, I'm pretty sure they could do that.
Councilmember Hines, did you have another question?
No, fair.
You're good, they answered it. Okay. Anybody else? Ms. Robinson, you have anything to add? No, ma'am. Mr. Mayor?
Tractor Supply is open. The grand opening will be Thursday through Saturday.
Yep.
That's it.
Yay. Yeah, they said they have lots of sales coming up. Councilmember Hines, have anything for the good of the cause? Anything else?
No.
Mr. Ross?
No.
Mr. West?
What happened to the other two tenants, you know, there was, I think, Riley's Auto Parts, they were gonna come in. I haven't seen them.
The other two.
In the shopping center, the school plaza shopping center.
The O'Reilly's is still on the table.
Right.
Because the plans are in the city hall. Yes.
Riley's, the permit will probably be done by the end of this week or next week. They got a contractor, so they'll be breaking ground in the next few weeks. The other tenant, they do not have anybody for right now.
Just we need number 4. Right across the street from the other one. Yeah. Okay, Mr. Barber.
I'm not trying to prolong the meeting, but
You're okay.
there was no second public participation item in the agenda.
Oh, so there wasn't. So I guess we'll do it just for the fun of it.
Oh, well.
Before we do adjournment, is there anyone at this opportunity who has like to participate for second opportunity for public participation?
I have no one.
Catch. Nobody online. There he is. We left the announcements out and we left the other.
Yeah, now we get the.
Okay, thank you for catch. Very good. All right, since there is no one, I will entertain a motion for adjournment. Record time. So I can get a motion.
I so moved.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Have a second for Mr. Cox. Any discussion? No. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We will adjourn at 7 p.m. Thank you for coming.